Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because you know schools aren't. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos, and follow me on Instagram for some bonus content. So let's get started. So in this video, guys, we're going to be talking some doom and gloom of what could possibly happen for the next stock market crash or the economy crash. So our last one obviously was in 2008 with the real estate bubble, and it got me thinking, especially recently. 2017 was like a phenomenal year in the market. 2018, more people are questioning, is a crash approaching us in the near future? So I started doing a little research. Now, before going into what could possibly happen in the near future, and by the way, for anyone who says they have like a specific date and they know when a crash is going to happen, they don't know. Like, they might have an idea of what could affect the market and what could cause this, but there's really no time stamp of when anyone has any idea when this could happen. This happened in 2008, dot-com bubble in 2000, there was another crash in the 80s. It's difficult to predict, however, there are factors that could lead up to it. So first, let's look at the 2008 crash. That was involving real estate. And more specifically, one main factor that kind of triggered it was something called balloon mortgages. So a balloon mortgage basically means in the beginning of the loan, you just pay the interest. Usually a small payment. However, after a certain amount of time, could be a couple years, guess what? That principal amount needs to be paid now. So there were so many people in these real estate deals had no idea what was going on. Then all of a sudden their payments shot through the roof. They couldn't afford them, so they defaulted, and that's why a bunch of these real estate properties went into foreclosure. Now, if we look at that setup and that structure, there's a couple factors going on there. One, it's a huge amount of money and people in a certain area. In this case, it was real estate. And another factor, they were uneducated. They were given out loans for people that couldn't afford them. They had no idea what the loans were about. And with these balloon mortgages, there was kind of like a time when this started occurring. So it got me thinking of how could these factors be possibly looked at for today. Is there anything going on that is similar to that? And I started looking at student loans. Now, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm not saying this is going to cause it. It is a big problem though, guys. So I want to dive into what's kind of going on in the student loan sector. So real quick, let's go into a couple of facts about student loans today. Well, we are approaching, if not already, we probably surpassed the total $1.5 trillion in student loan debt. Over 44 million Americans have student loan debt. The delinquency rate on these loans, 11%. We're going to talk about that in a bit, and you can see some of the average payments. So that's a lot of student loans, guys. $1.5 trillion. Compared to actually credit card debt, that total is over 600 billion. So actually more than double of that is in student loans. So it's just tremendous. The average student loan debt per person right now is, I believe it's pushing $40,000. Why I started looking at student loans is, one, obviously that's not a small number whatsoever. Two, a lot of people are involved with this, and a lot are uneducated. Some of them simply can't afford these loans, and they don't even understand these loans. Similar to 2008, which got me digging deeper. Now, of course, there's a handful of different student loans out there. Mainly, there's kind of subsidized and unsubsidized. So that means basically subsidized loans means that while you're in college, you're not accruing interest while you're attending school. Unsubsidized means that you are accruing interest. Just a quick fun fact if you have student loans. So I started thinking, how could these students, these kids, young adults, whatever you want to call them, millennials, they have these huge loans, how are they handling them? So what if they can't afford them at all? What could they do? And I started looking into deferment payments, deferrals, because if they can't afford it, maybe they're unemployed, they could push these loans out and they don't have to pay them. Now here's a quick article, and by the way, anything that I have, I'll leave links in the description if you want to check them out. But, so I started seeing like, how does deferment work? And you could defer this once a year. You could see through this article, I just highlighted a quick thing. So you could do this once a year for a maximum of 3 years. Now this got me worried, because I related it to the crash of 2008 with the balloon mortgages. They had only the interest payment. People were thinking they could afford them or they could deal with it. And then all of a sudden, after a certain amount of time, they have this huge payment. Similar with the student loans. These kids could defer these loans, not paying anything. And apparently after 3 years, they can't do that anymore. So all of a sudden, they're going to have these payments. And the fact is that this is already happening. We'll look at this quick chart right here. This is student debt statistics by loan status. And you can see loans in deferment already are over $100 billion. And in forbearance, not being paid either of $100 billion. So that together is over $200 billion. So we see that this is actually occurring. So next I was wondering, like, when is the majority of people going to have to pay for these loans? Obviously, depending on your age. Like for me personally, I'm 25. I graduated around 3 years ago. So if I had student loans and I was deferring them, I would technically need to start paying them next year, or like 2019, which is soon. So I wanted to look into like which age group has the most student loans. This kind of helps us out. You could see this is determined by age group and over the years. So obviously people under 30 years old have the most student loans. You could kind of see, which is kind of interesting, since 2013 until now, it has been slightly declining, but it's still astronomical. And of course, 30 to 39-year-olds is increasing as well. Basically, everyone's increasing. So we don't necessarily have like a specific time period, like when is this going to occur? But, so I started thinking, we really don't have any idea when this is going to start. It's definitely going to continue though. So I started thinking, what's going to happen if this occurs for certain people? So if we look back in 2008, if you don't pay your mortgage, whoever holds your mortgage simply takes your house. How could we relate that to student loans? If you don't pay your student loans, what could they do? And unfortunately, they could do a lot more than a lot of people actually understand. They could actually take part of your income. They could take your tax return money. And if you actually wait long enough, they could take away your Social Security in retirement. Extra bonus tip that sucks, you can't get rid of student loans in bankruptcy, so they're going to follow you forever. So stay with me on this one, guys. If whoever holds the loans, it could be the government that holds a handful of these loans, but let's say they start taking income away from these recent graduates. Since they don't have that income anymore because the government's taking it, now what could they do? They're already like just scraping by, so what are they going to default on? Something else. Maybe they can't pay their car loans now, they can't pay their credit card debt now, and so many other house, or if they have a rental payment. Now I'm not saying that this is absolutely going to happen, but you could definitely see how this is probable. And it's kind of a domino effect. If the government or whoever starts taking income away from these kids, recent graduates, young adults, sorry, whatever you want to call them, millennials, then they're not going to have money to pay for other things, and that could cause other problems. This would obviously have a huge impact on the economy just due to the sheer number of these student loans that could possibly be deferred and eventually not paid for if millennials can't afford it after, like we said before, that 3-year max. Now, I'm no professional in student loans. It might be different for each loan, I guess, depending on the terms. But if we're looking at this setup, that wouldn't be pretty. Now, there might be other issues, yes, but I do understand that this is a huge issue, and I don't think we're going to just sweep this under the rug. And this is what life has thrown at us. Unfortunately, life isn't, pizza and ice cream and is not completely wonderful all the time. It's not goldfish. It doesn't smile back. You're going to get slapped a couple times. So how to avoid this? I mean, this is a big problem right now, so it's definitely not going to be easy. And who knows, it might be completely difficult, if not impossible, to avoid where we are now. Because kids are starting off, they're not even starting at zero. They're starting negative because of these student loans. So for me, I would say if you do have student loans, actually look at them. We cannot just hide our heads in the sand, expect them to disappear. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. We kind of have to either attack it now or later, and I would rather attack it now because it's just going to become a bigger monster in the future. And I think this is such a huge problem that I'm actually going to start possibly like a small series of a plan to get out of student loans, because I know a lot of people have huge amounts and they don't even know how to start tackling them. And it might be it will be a long-term process. But we have to do something. And if I could help in any way, by all means, I'll try. So guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this one. Do you think the market's crashing soon? So just prepare. Even if it's a little bit, that's better than a person who doesn't prepare. So I don't know what to tell you guys. We'll get there. So subscribe to my channel. We'll definitely get there. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.